The wind howled across the dry red soil of the ruined alien world. Kala stood alone near a small hill of ashen stone, her hands gripping a rusted shovel. Her fingers were frozen, her body weak, but she kept digging. Each scoop of dirt felt like a part of her heart being torn out. She didn't cry anymore. Her tears had dried days ago. Only pain and silence were left inside her. She looked down at the small bundle beside her, wrapped in a soft yellow cloth. It was too quiet, too still. Her baby hadn't moved all morning. No breath, no sound, no heartbeat. Kala had held her all night, hoping, begging the stars to bring back one tiny breath. But the cold had taken her, just like it had taken her husband, her sister, and her village. Raiders had come 3 nights ago. They burned homes, took food, and left the survivors bleeding in the dust. Kala had hidden in the ruins, wrapping her baby in every scrap of cloth she had. But it hadn't been enough. Now she was here, digging a grave with her bare hands when the shovel slipped. The metal clanged against rock, and Kala froze. The sound felt louder than thunder in the stillness. Then her arms gave out, and the shovel fell from her hands. She dropped to her knees, whispering, "I'm sorry, little one." Her voice cracked like dry wood. She placed the bundle into the shallow grave. Her hands trembling, the wind carried sand over her face, as if trying to bury her too. She didn't care anymore. She covered the bundle slowly, gently. Each handful of dirt was a goodbye, far away across the rocky plains. A human man named Jack sat in the cockpit of an old scout ship. The ship was silent, broken in many places, but its sensors still worked. Jack was scanning for signs of life, supplies, or anything useful. He was tired, alone, and ready to give up his mission. But then something blinked on the screen. It's a soft sound, almost like a baby's cry code through the audio feed. Jack leaned closer, thinking it was a glitch. But it came again, faint, weak, but real. He quickly tapped on the screen, adjusting the signal. Couldn't be. He whispered to himself. This planet was supposed to be empty or full of dead. He followed the signal, guiding the ship low over a ridge of broken metal and blackened trees. The cry came again, louder this time. Jack jumped from the cockpit, his boots crunching into ash and bone as he followed the sound. Back at the hill, Kala sat beside the fresh grave, her body shaking. The sky turned dark as night approached. She closed her eyes and leaned against the stone, her hand on the grave. "Forgive me," she whispered. "I couldn't protect you." She didn't see the storm clouds gathering above. She didn't see the scanner beams sweep across her hill. She didn't know that less than 1 mile away, Jack was tearing through rubble with bare hands. He had found a hidden shelter, half collapsed, but inside was movement. A soft blue hand, a tiny one, reached toward him from under crushed metal. He gasped, lifting a small bundle from the wreck. The baby coughed, once, weak but alive. Jack's heart pounded. He wrapped the child in his coat, his mind racing. How had she survived? Who did she belong to? What would happen next? He didn't know. But one thing was clear. He couldn't leave her as the storm broke above. Lightning flashed across the planet. Kala raised her head and looked at the sky. She didn't know why, but something inside her stirred. Far away, under the same storm, Jack held the baby close, and the child's small hand grabbed his thumb. Jack stared at the tiny baby in his arms. Her skin was blue and soft. Her eyes were closed, but her chest moved just a little. A sign of life, a miracle on a dead planet. He looked around the ruined shelter. Everything was broken. The ceiling had crashed down. Walls were cracked metal beams, bent like paper. It was a graveyard, but in the middle of all this death, a baby had cried. He touched the side of her face. She was cold, so cold it burned his fingers. He took off his jacket and wrapped her tightly. Her head rested against his chest. He could feel her heartbeat slow and weak. But there Jack's thoughts spun like a storm. Who was she? How long had she been here? Why was no one looking for her? He remembered the scanner alert. Only one heat signature. Only one life sign. But now there were two. Something was wrong. He picked her up and stepped outside the shelter. The sky above was dark. Storm clouds were rolling fast. Wind howled like lost spirits. Ash flew in the air like snow. He ran back to his ship, holding the baby close. Each step heavy, each breath tight. The ship's ramp lowered with a hiss. Inside was warmer. He placed her gently on a folded blanket, then started the med kit. His hands moved fast. Checking her pulse, clearing her nose, warming her body, she cried again, a soft sound, like a whisper from another world. Jack smiled for the first time in weeks. He spoke to her in a quiet voice. "You're safe now. You're going to be okay." But deep inside he was scared. Why would a baby be left alone in a ruin? Who left her? Who wanted her gone? Then he saw it. A symbol on the cloth. She was wrapped in a royal mark, alien script. He could barely read, but he knew the shape. It meant danger back in the wasteland. Kala walked with her head down, her legs hurt, her stomach empty, but she kept moving. She didn't know where she was going. But something pushed her forward. A feeling, a voice in her heart that said, "Keep going." She reached a broken comms tower. Inside were old wires and a dead screen. She sat near it and heard voices from a nearby camp. Alien outlaws, loud, drunk, talking about a human ship seen near the ruins, carrying a baby. Callous heart stopped. A baby, her baby. She stood up fast, her vision blurred. Could it be true? Was her little one alive? She didn't think. She just ran back on the ship. Jack was fixing systems, trying to get the engines ready. He wanted to leave before anyone followed the signal. Then the alarm rang. Enemy nearby, a drone. Watching from the cliffs, he grabbed his blaster and ran outside. Shot once the drone fell in flames, but it was too late. They knew. Jack looked at the baby again. Her tiny hand moved. She was stronger now, alive and fighting. He made a decision. He would protect her no matter the cost. She was not just a baby. She was hope, somewhere in the dust storm. Kala rode a stolen hoverbike, her eyes full of fire, her heart full of questions. Was it really her child? Was this real? She would find the human. She would find the baby. Even if it killed her, the stars above were quiet, but the war below never stopped. Jack sat in his ship holding the alien baby as warnings blinked on the screen. He watched a red light flash again and again. Unknown ship detected incoming. Fast armed. He looked at the baby. She slept in his arms, her breathing stronger now. She had survived what others could not. He whispered, without sound, "You are not just lucky, you are something more." The ship shuddered as the enemy came closer. Jack moved quickly. He placed the baby in a padded pod under the seat, sealed it, protected it. Then he turned toward the cockpit. The enemy ship hovered outside. No signal, no words, only silence. Then the attack began. Lasers cut through the dark sky. Jack's ship shook. Metal cracked. Lights flickered. But Jack did not run. He fought back. Old soldier hands moved across controls. The engines roared to life. The ship lifted from the ground like a beast with one last breath. He fired back, twisted through the air, used every trick he knew. Every scar on his body remembered this kind of fight. But this time, it was not just about surviving. It was about the child. The enemy was strong, but Jack was desperate. He broke through the clouds, fled into space, vanished into the black. For now, far below, Kala raced across the land on her stolen hoverbike. Dust hit her face. Her eyes burned, but she did not stop. She followed the trail. Broken rocks, heat signs, scorched air. She had been a mother, then a mourner. Now she was a hunter. Her heart beat louder than the engine. Her thoughts screamed louder than the wind. Was it really her baby? Could her child still be alive? She remembered the voice in the outlaw camp, a human with a blue baby carrying royal blood. Her baby had that blood, a rare mark from her father's side, a mark that made her both sacred and cursed. She rode faster in space. Jack sent out a coded message to the rebel network. Old friends, old enemies, He needed help. But he also sent a warning: protect this child no matter what happens to me. He did not tell them why, but he knew they would feel it. This baby was important. Not just to him, but to the war, to the galaxy. She was born from a royal line, a line many wanted to erase, and now they were coming. Bounty hunters, killers, trackers, who could smell fear. He checked the baby again. She was awake now. Her eyes wide, silent, watching. Jack felt something strange. She was not crying, not afraid. She was watching him like she understood everything. Like she had seen death already and survived. He whispered again. You have fire in you, little one. I see it. Somewhere far in a shadowed control room, a bounty hunter read the latest signal: baby girl with royal signature, protected by human mail. Alive, he smiled, his teeth sharp, his claws tapping the table. He knew the reward. Not money, not gold, but power. Capture the child or end her life. Either way, he would be paid. He stood and ordered his team. Find the human, bring me the child. On the ruined planet, Kala saw lights in the sky. A ship had taken off. She pressed her bike forward, but her engine coughed and died. She fell in the dirt, breathing hard. Eyes locked on the sky, she screamed without sound. Her baby was up there, and so was death. The sky burned like fire as Kala stood on the cliff, her hoverbike broken behind her, her body covered in dust. Her heart louder than thunder. She had seen the ship rise. A streak of light carrying something she thought she lost forever. Hope, a fragile dream. Her child. She dropped to her knees and placed her palm against the cold ground. Her fingers trembled, her breath sharp and fast. Her baby was alive. Somehow, somewhere, someone had her. A human. Kala had never trusted humans. They came with machines, with war, with sharp eyes and silent hearts. But now one of them had saved her daughter. She would find him. She would take back what was hers. In the dark sky above, Jack flew the ship through asteroid dust and broken satellite fields. His hands moved steady on the controls, but his mind raced. He kept looking back at the pod where the baby lay safe sleeping. He had sent messages to every rebel station he knew, but no one answered. The signal was jammed. Blocked by someone who did not want help to come. He knew what that meant. They were already close. Jack opened the hidden weapon systems. Old Earth tech, illegal in most parts of the galaxy, but powerful. He checked the sensors again. Nothing on radar, but he did not believe it. The silence was too deep. Somewhere behind the silence, a hunter was watching. Back on the surface, Kala walked across the rocks, her legs heavy, her feet bleeding. She found an abandoned outpost near the mountain edge. Inside were scraps, wires, a power cell still alive. She worked fast, her fingers twisting metal and cloth. Building a small tracker, she scanned the sky. The signal was weak, but it pointed to one direction: east, toward the old rebel path. She smiled for the first time in days. She picked up a broken rifle, strapped it to her back, and started walking. Far above, a sleek black ship floated like a ghost through space. Inside, the bounty hunter waited. His eyes sharp, his armor silent, his name feared. On 10 planets he had tracked kings, he had broken queens, he had never lost a target. Now he wanted the child, not for gold, not for orders, but because someone told him he could not. And he hated rules. He opened a map of the region, saw the path Jack had taken, predicted his next move. He smiled without joy. The hunt was simple. One man, one baby, one bullet. Back in Jack's ship, the baby cried, a soft, high sound that pierced the silence. Jack rushed to her, lifted her gently, held her close to his chest. She calmed her hand, touching his face. In that moment, he remembered a picture. A small frame in his old home on Earth. His daughter gone too soon. He closed his eyes and whispered, "Not this time. I won't let another one die." He placed her back in the pod, covered her with a heated blanket, and walked to the control deck. He entered new coordinates toward the rebel moon base. It was a risk, but they had medical care and weapons. He needed both, just as he prepared to jump. A warning flashed. Enemy lock detected. Jack cursed under his breath, gripped the controls outside. The black ship rose from shadow. No voice, no message, only fire. Lasers hit the side of Jack's ship. Sparks flew, engines screamed. Jack dodged, fired back. A deadly dance between hunter and protector. He shouted into the dark, "You're not taking her over my dead body." Somewhere below, Kala reached the edge of the canyon and saw lights flashing in the sky. She raised her hand, eyes wide. War had begun again, but this time she would not be a victim. She would be the storm. Rain poured like falling knives as the ruined valley echoed with distant fire. Kala moved through the smoke with sharp eyes and steady breath. Her boots crushed ash and bones. Her heart pounded louder than the thunder above. She had tracked the signal across dead forests and shattered cities. Now it ended here, a small ship half buried in the dirt. Its hull blackened by fire, its ramp still open. She stepped forward, each step a question, each breath a war inside the ship. Jack stood frozen, his weapon raised. His eyes locked on the stranger, who appeared through the smoke. He had seen her face in the outlaw databases. She was marked as a fugitive. A mother from the royal line, dangerous, desperate, dead. But here she was, alive, and aiming a gun at his chest. Kala saw the human, and did not speak. She only looked, then her eyes fell to the side. To the small pod half open behind him, to the faint sound coming from it, a baby's soft cry. Her fingers shook. She lowered the gun just 1 inch, her lips opened, but no words came out. Jack did not blink. He had fought too long to protect that child. He would not lose her now, not to a stranger. Not to a lie. Say something, he said, now, or I shoot. Kala stepped forward, her voice barely more than air. That's my daughter. Jack's hands tightened. He felt like the world tilted. His heart said maybe, but his mind said no. He had seen too many tricks, too many monsters wearing human faces or alien ones. He moved closer. You left her in a ruin. Why should I believe you? Kala's knees hit the floor. Her weapon dropped. She pulled something from her pocket. A necklace, a tiny charm shaped like a star. She held it out, her hand. Trembling, she always held it when she slept. I buried her with it. Jack looked back at the pod. His fingers reached in. Pulled back the blanket. The charm was gone from the baby's hand. He stared at Kala, then back at the baby. Then at the necklace in her palm. He felt his chest crack open. You thought she was dead, he said. Kala nodded. Tears ran down her face. I thought she died in the cold. I buried her myself. I gave up. She covered her face and sobbed. The sound raw and broken. Jack lowered his weapon slowly. Carefully he walked to the pod, lifted the child. Carried her to the kneeling mother. Kala opened her arms. Her baby reached up and touched her cheek. The storm outside roared, but inside the silence was full of life. Kala kissed her daughter's head, held her close, smelled her hair, felt the tiny heartbeat. Jack turned away. He felt something move inside him. Something he had buried long ago, but peace did not last. A sound cracked through the air, a sharp beep from the ship's warning system. Jack ran to the controls, scanned the radar. 1 ship, no. 2, no. 3 bounty hunters. Kala stood and held the child tighter. She looked at Jack. You said you saved her. Now help me keep her alive. Jack loaded his rifle, checked the power cells, then looked her in the eye. I didn't save her alone. We save her together. Outside engines screamed in the night. Red lights painted the hills. Shadows moved through the smoke. Guns were ready. Hearts were steel. Jack and Kala stood side by side. 1 human, 1 alien. And a baby that changed everything. The sky opened with fire as the first hunter ship landed on the ridge. Its legs slammed into the stone like a beast claiming the earth. Engines roared, and dust lifted in wild circles. Then came the second ship, and the third, dark and silent like crows around a dying animal. Inside the broken scout ship, Jack checked the last 2 charges in his weapon. He knew it was not enough. He knew this was not going to be a fight they could win. But he did not move back, not an inch. Kala stood beside him, holding her daughter close, her eyes never blinking, her voice steady with rage and love. "I am not letting them take her. Not this time, not ever." Jack nodded and opened a hidden panel near the floor. He pulled out a small cube, a memory drive. He gave it to Calla. "This has all my records, medical data, star maps. Accused that she lived because someone cared. If I fall, you take her and you run." Calla stared at him. "What about you?" Jack gave her a look that said nothing, and everything. He turned toward the ramp and stepped outside. The night was alive with sound. Wind screamed through the rocks, lightning flashed above, and shapes moved in the dark. The bounty hunters came fast, 6 of them, armored, cold, silent. Each one trained to kill without asking questions. Jack fired first. A bolt of blue light slammed into the nearest hunter. The body dropped without a sound. Then the storm truly began. Lasers lit the valley. The ground shook with every step. Jack moved fast, faster than a man with nothing to lose, because now he had something worth dying for. Calla watched from the ship. Her baby still in her arms, she rocked gently back and forth, whispering songs no one else knew. Old lullabies from a home that no longer existed. Then a shadow crept up the ramp. She turned slowly, her eyes locked on the intruder. A tall bounty hunter with glowing red armor and a blade in hand. He raised the weapon. She raised her voice. "Stay away from my child." He did not stop, so she ran forward. Not with fear, but fury. The blade slashed the air. But Calla ducked and drove a broken metal rod into his side. Sparks flew, the hunter screamed and fell outside. Jack took 2 shots to the chest. His armor cracked his breath short, but he kept standing. One hunter aimed at Calla from above. Jack saw it. He did not think. He ran toward her. He took the shot meant for her and fell. Calla turned and caught him before he hit the ground. His blood was hot, his breath shallow. "Why?" she whispered. "Why did you do that?" "Because she needs you more than she ever needed me." His hand reached for the baby's small fingers. Touch them one last time. Then his eyes closed. The last hunter stood at the edge, watching. Calla looked up. Her eyes glowing in the lightning, her daughter safe in her arms. "You want her? Come and try." But the hunter did not move. He looked at the bodies, at the blood, at the fire, still burning in that mother's eyes, and he turned away. His ship lifted into the air and vanished into the storm. Calla knelt beside Jack's body, her tears mixed with the rain. She whispered something soft, a promise. Then she picked up her child and walked into the dawn. The battle was over, but the war had just begun. The wind was softer now. It carried no ash, no fire. Only quiet sounds of life returning where death once ruled. Calla stood near the same hill where she had dug a grave days ago, but she was not the same. The world was not the same in her arms. Her baby slept warm and alive. The same baby she thought she lost. The same baby she buried beneath the cold dirt and broken dreams. Now she carried her not with sorrow, but with hope behind her. The ship Jack had flown rested like a fallen guardian. Its hull burned, its systems broken, but its story not forgotten. People came, not hunters, not killers, but rebels. Old warriors, healers, survivors who followed the signal Jack had sent before the battle. They brought food, blankets, medicine, and they asked Calla only one thing: what happened here? She did not speak at first. She only looked at the body, wrapped in cloth, lying under a tree that grew from stone. A tree that should not exist on such a ruined planet. Its leaves shimmered gold under the rising sun, and birds circled it like protectors. Calla touched the ground with her hand right above where Jack now slept. "You died for a child that was not yours. You bled for a life you could have left behind, but you chose to stay, you chose to fight, you chose to love." She whispered a name, Hope, not just for her daughter, but for the man who reminded her what it meant. In the days that followed, the rebels helped Calla rebuild the camp. They turned the ruins into a home, the ship into a shelter, the tree into a symbol. They asked Calla to stay, to lead, to teach them about the royal blood the baby carried, to show them how to protect not just one life, But many Kala agreed, not because she wanted power, but because she had seen what love could do, even from a stranger, even from a human. The baby grew stronger each day she laughed. Under the strange golden tree she walked between old weapons and new gardens. She learned to speak in both her mother's language and the human tongue Jack once used, and every year on the same day, Kala brought her daughter to that tree. She told her the story of a man who crashed on a dead world, who found a child under rubble, who carried her through fire, who stood between death and a mother's sorrow. The baby would place a flower on the grave, not because she remembered, but because she understood. You were buried once, she would say, but I was born twice, once by my mother, and once by the man who would not let me die. The rebels called the place New Rise, a place where old wounds healed, where aliens and humans shared stories, where no child was ever left behind. And at the center of it all stood the golden tree, a silent guardian, a witness to pain, to sacrifice, to love. No one knew how it grew. Some said it was from Jack's blood, some said it was the baby's touch, others believed it was something greater. Kala never gave an answer. She only smiled and looked at the branches above, where light always seemed to shine, even during storms. One day her daughter asked her, "Do you miss him?" Kala looked at the sky. "Always, but I see him every time you laugh, every time you run, every time someone chooses love over fear." The girl hugged her mother, then ran through the fields with other children. Her laughter echoed across the hills, and above it all, the tree stood still, alive, unshaken, forever growing.